pick from Dynasty to take it away from Catherine, I think it would be dangerous for them to give it to Qlash with the Catherine.
Yeah, especially on something like a Rhyme as well. You can't afford to be CC'd that long in a fight. You've got to be using your abilities to be tanky.
Yeah, and if they are going to go for the Batiste, the fact that they banned away Krull is a little bit surprising to me because they did obviously just took care of a Krull in the previous game. But now, if they are going to get the Batiste, it's almost certainly going to be as a captain, which will be... it's an unorthodox composition, but again, Dynasty, we know, is more than happy to play unorthodox compositions. It's just going to be very... how that team synergizes would become a question if they do go for a Captain Batiste with a Rhyme. They're going to go for the Finn, so Catherine Batiste is an option for Qlash. We'll see if they do go for this one. And they also have the Vox, and that was the original version of this composition that was so deadly because you have so many AoE lockdowns.
And the pick coming out of Dynasty, the Finn, while it's immune to CC in the sense that he can't get stunned, he can't get rooted, it doesn't work well against Catherine and Baptiste because you get silenced, exactly, Tasty. And if Catherine stuns Finn, that stun translates into a silence. So you can stun Finn, silence, and he doesn't have an opportunity to even crucible that silence coming out of Catherine for his team. So the Finn, while it's generally a good pick against CC, it doesn't work well against the Catherine and the Batiste because the fears also silence you. So the Finn, I don't really like it here, especially if the Batiste comes out. But they already picked up a Scarf. If they do go for the Batiste, now it's going to be a double CP, and that's perhaps why they don't go for it. It's going to be a Scarf jungle, most likely, with a Kestrel lane weapon power.
I mean, we saw Agony play Scarf jungle a lot last season. He was a big fan of these CP junglers. Going back onto his comfort picks, Massili's with the Kestrel here. This is something that was banned against him in game number 1 of this series.
Yeah, and I think this is just the side of Qlash trying to outrange the Rhyme this time around, which is, I think, the way you approach the Rhyme. That's how you should go about it. When they first pick it, get the range out there. Make it so that the Rhyme cannot have the same level of effect, but now the Celeste coming through for Dynasty. This was an OG pick for PT Lamb way back in the day when Snow was an organization. There was PT Lamb on that team. The Celeste was one of his most played heroes at the time, so it's definitely a pick that he knows how to play.
Yeah, I mean, this can make Rhyme go off in power jungle, and that might work just a little bit better against the range because you don't have to land your abilities now. You just have to close the gap and use your auto attacks. I like both drafts. I think Qlash have a better synergy in their draft just because Kestrel and Scarf can both poke. And Catherine, if she stuns Finn before she silences, Finn doesn't have a chance to crucible.
All right, well, we'll see how this one's going to pan out. I've got to say, I like the Dynasty draft here, baiting them into a ranged fight, then grabbing the Celeste for themselves. It's time to get on into this one. Hashtag Vainglory on Twitter. Let us know who you want to win this one. But let's head on into game number 2.
Man, this is a very intriguing draft. This has just been a series, Scoundrel, where the drafting meta has been thrown out the window, and Team Qlash and Dynasty are kind of just reinventing the wheel.
I think, realistically, I expected nothing less from a Dynasty game. I mean, they are known for doing a little bit off meta. When you say reinventing the wheel, it's like reinventing the wheel as a square. I'm not sure it's like optimally the best way that you can play, but it certainly makes for some interesting games.
Okay, I think as a square, yeah. No, I see what you're saying there. And Dynasty have done this multiple times throughout their Vainglory career. Oh my goodness, Mowgli really wanted to move on in there and to try and take out Massili's, but he doesn't have Quibble. He has Polite Company as his first ability, and that's kind of means he doesn't have that big burst damage. But this central treant has been secured by Qlash. Dynasty are now moving in to try and contest these backs here. There's going to be just that treant available to be contested. Core Collapse lands onto Agony. I don't think they're in range to do anything really here. Mowgli trying to pull them back, but they can't quite get any damage done.
Yeah, and they won't be able to net any major advantages from that either. Massili's, I think, picked up that healing treant, so he is back to full life. PT Lamb actually spent a lot of energy on that invade as well, although he does have that healing flask ready if he needs it to get some energy regen back for him. But an aggressive move, a Dynasty not really rewarded, but it might give Rikimeza this central treant, which was originally picked up by Qlash as they move back in to try and take it again, having seen Rikimeza just take it.
Ricomeza against range going to struggle really this game, but Hell's Devil going very low. Ricomeza trying his best to get in there. Agony trying to land a Spitfire, trying to rotate around the team fight. Masili's a great rotation comes down, and first blood and second will go over to Team Qlash.
Oh, Agony played so well around the attempted body blocking from Mowgli and how they are going to potentially pay for it quite extensively. PT Lam not even able to try and contest because of the lack of vision that they have of the Qlash roster as they went for that invade. The backs will still be up, so that's a saving grace for Ricomeza. But again, Ricomeza so close, but Mowgli's body blocking just not good enough, and Agony ran straight past Mowgli to get to that backline. And remember, if a target is ignited, it doesn't really matter about the body blocking of the Spitfire, you're just looking for those basic attacks to fan the flames. Good start here for Qlash. 2-0 lead in their favor against the double CP, which a lot of people say, going double the same sort of damage type is never a good thing. It's a little bit harder to actually itemize into a double CP than it is to itemize into a double weapon power, because realistically, you've just got Aegis and Fountain providing that shielding for you, and as a carry, you're not going to pick up the Fountain, so you're more than likely to just have that Aegis, which, to be honest, most people go versus just one CP anyway.
A little bit disappointed we didn't get to hear your naysayer's voice there, Scoundrel, but
I can't bring out every day, it's the
treat,
here and there.
Rare treat. Something to be treasured. I certainly appreciate that. And I think that's exactly the point that I was hoping you would make, is that, oh, Agony steals that away, that's so cheeky. That against these really squishy, single defensive item heroes, double CP, double weapon power is far more effective. They don't stack shielding, they don't stack armor. Like you could see Dynasty did on Ricomeza, building both an Atlas and a metal jacket. It's just not a possibility for Scarf and Celeste to do that, so Kestrel. So it makes a lot of sense that you can kind of run double crystal power if you are positioning correctly, which PT Lam struggled a little bit in that scenario. In the jungle, Ricomeza is trying to get his one back. He has stolen away a couple of camps, and Agony's struggling, but Hell's Devil moves on in. Dragon Blood contract. Ricomeza taking extra damage as we speak. The lane, a kill goes over to Mercilles, but Agony will fall before Ricomeza does get taken down. And oh gosh, look at PT Lam's health. So low. Mercilles looking like he almost 2v1'd the captain and the carry of Dynasty.
I think this is a much better composition into a Rhyme coming out from the Qlash this time around. I actually love Scarf into Rhyme, especially once you pick up that Frostburn. Oh, the first turret of the game already going over to Qlash, and Kestrel doing what she does best at just crushing these turrets early on. Weapon power Kestrel's so good at doing that kind of thing. Mercilles will receive the pain of a very long-range basic attack from Celeste, but the Heliogenesis wasn't close enough to stop him from backing.
Boom. It hit.
It took a bit of damage from that. You won't be too happy.
That's Julia's Light. Does crystal damage, a bit like Idris's auto attacks, except far slower.
So, Shatterglass first item coming out here from PT Lam. Quite like that because you've got a Rhyme and a Finn. Lots of slow on the board already. You've already got some CC in there with the Quibble and the fourth chord. You're just looking to burst. It's not about slowing down the enemy when you're playing up against them this time around. You're just looking to burst them. They get the two squishies. I think that's a really sensible idea from PT Lam, and I think actually, given the state of the game, probably need that extra damage, given that Qlash are actually in the driving seat at the start of this game so far.
Currently, Dynasty haven't really found any openings to get up on Qlash. However, quite often when we see double crystal power come out, it's a late burner, slow burner that builds up over time. And with Ricomeza on this Rhyme being able to prioritize into a Broken Myth as his first item, does provide a bit of warranty almost that he can stack up and pierce through some of the shieldings. However, in the previous game it made a lot of sense due to the fact that the fights were going to be elongated against a crew who you would be able to easily stack up against. This game, it seems like it may not be as easy for the Rhyme to do so, and I wonder if perhaps an Evil Harvest or a Shatterglass would have worked out a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah, I feel like going the Broken Myth this time round is probably playing into the fact that... I mean, I don't even know how you're going to be able to hit skills consistently as a Rhyme this time round, let alone the Solar Storm comes out, but yeah, I think Eve of Harvest maybe for the energy regeneration, Shatterglass maybe because if you hit one stray skill, it's going to hit harder. I just don't know how you're going to consistently build stacks here if Rickamezzi, you get locked up and close against the Scarf. The Goop actually tears you apart. Would really love to see prioritization of shielding coming out from these guys.
Yeah, it's Qlash need to learn from the previous game. This time Rickamezzi walks straight on into a death bush. He will fall down. Dragon's Breath going to come out and PT Lamb burning inside of it. Hell's Devil charging forward and they're going to turn their attention to the Crocodile. Mowgli will take a lot of damage in the process. Spitfire connects and Hell's Devil, with the help of Agony, will be able to find the kill. PT Lamb, last man standing, does just about get out of range, but the one shot comes through and that's it. GG, he will fall. Rickamezzi has respawned. We're still fairly early into the game, so Ace is hard to come by. But Qlash, certainly in the driver's seat.
Yeah, they're certainly making Dynasty pay for the first pick, Rhyme. I think Rhyme's strong, right? I genuinely do. I think Rhyme has got a very solid place in the meta. I think if you can make him work, doesn't get the steal.
No, he's dead now. Unfortunately.
I think if you can, find a good counter pick for Rhyme, that's fantastic. First picking Rhyme, just no. Like, there is so many good ways to play around Rhyme, and so many heroes in the current meta that play around him. Celeste is good, Scarf is good, Kestrel is good, Catherine is good into Rhyme. There's so many goods into Rhyme. It just seems very silly to prioritize it this early on in your draft, especially as a first pick, where you literally lay your cards on the table. He's a major facet of the competition laid on the table, and there's just a really good way for Qlash to play around him. I think Scarf is one of the best picks into Rhyme in the game, and you're seeing why it is here. Goop and Frostburn and everything else absolutely crush him.
It wasn't really Dynasty running away with Rhyme due to the fact they picked Rhyme. You could almost lay a lot of blame on the previous game onto Qlash's itemization and playstyle against the composition Dynasty had. Mowgli and PT Lamb certainly had some shining moments, and I think they're far more attributes into the winning success of Dynasty than Rickamezzi's Rhyme, unfortunately. Perhaps he's been watching too much Pun in the original and thinks he's rogue. But, Dynasty, their B-side, and B-side is heralded for the fact that it can last pick a jungler that counters a composition. And Rhyme is usually when that comes through.
Okay, we'll after this fight, maybe.
Yeah, this fight does get disengaged by Qlash. How do Dynasty continue is the question.
So if you're Dynasty, do you think Qlash are going to take Rhyme away from you? Is the first question.
Probably not.
And do you think that they felt it was such a major asset in that last game that they're going to ban it away from you?
Hell's Devil's dead. Looks like Qlash perhaps bit off more than they can chew, but right now it's not the Rhyme that's doing it, it's this Finn and it's this Celeste. Providing CC and
now
shielding.
Now level 8, post level 8, she's working towards 3. That's the major, I think.
This Dragon's back might kill Rickamezzi. Alright, man. This is such a long fight. But nothing's happening. Feels wrong to play by play Scoundrel.
Yeah, as Hell's Devil comes back in, tries his best, but this turret, they are defending this wave really nicely, but a single Heliogenesis with a Supernova should finish it off, and it does.
And now they've executed Mowgli for the process, so he will go down, and Agony should be able to pick up the kill in just a second. Although a Solar Storm coming through would have killed him if it connected. Didn't quite. So gold swings back Dynasty's way, but immediately Qlash moved towards this gold miner. Is in full vision of the side of Dynasty, but I'm not quite sure Rickamezzi is going to attempt to steal again. It didn't work out anywhere near as successfully as he hoped in the previous attempt.
Yeah, and I think actually, while we sacrifice Mowgli for a turret, you do give away an almost full gold payout to Qlash just for maybe being a little bit over-aggressive. You have a level 8 Celeste, for goodness sake. You can always return to that turret and take it without the need to sacrifice somebody, but hey. You're getting to the point in the game, though, where the range on Celeste will start to come online now. You are going to start to combat Massili's and Agony. Remember, Agony generally has that range from very early levels. Spitfire has got a pretty good range from very early levels. It takes that level 8 for Celeste to actually be able to contest with the Scarf nicely. And now PT Lamb, working towards his 4th item, is post level 8, has got that range advantage. This is where you will start to see Dynasty Gaming mount a comeback. I still don't think it's got anything to do with the Rhyme, but the Celeste certainly is a very good pick in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. The late game of the Celeste paired with a Finn is super strong, and in theory, Rhyme will hit a similar late game status, however, maybe an ineffective one if he can't get on top of the Kestrel and Scarf and the Catherine, who too have a godly late game status. Force Core does get blocked up, but Dynasty were on board for the stun if that did come through with the core collapse. And now look at the health bars coming out. Solar Storm will connect with Massili's, but Dynasty are retreating. The Fountain already popped as the Crucible Hell's Devil moves on in, trying to find a position, as does Massili's. Limit shots tearing through. Agony stacking up a broken myth. Up to 2. Fountain comes out. Mowgli should go down. And now without their Crocodile on the front line, it's very difficult for Dynasty to stick around. Missed positions and they're dead, and PT Lamb has to pop those boots to escape Massili's as he pushes forward. Still has incredible range, still has a fair amount of energy due to the fact that he has the Clockwork and Eve of Harvest. So not much that Qlash can actually achieve from this. They're going to look for a Crystal Sentry, but even that's risky against Dynasty, and Dynasty looking to try and prove how so. Rickameza needs to build up this fortified health. He's doing so. Solar Storm connects with Massili's. Here comes the Dragon's Breath, though. Agony forced to run away with it. And PT Lamb trying to get in position. Rickameza dodging the Glimmer shots, the one-shot as well. It's a kill going over to him. Now Massili's has to run as well against PT Lamb on this Celeste, who's connected a Helogenesis, but doesn't have the range to really get too dirty here. Maybe he can snipe away. No, he can't. Gold Miner seems like the appropriate response for Dynasty here, Scoundrel.
I think it's the only thing that they can probably go for as Hell's Devil gets dragged in.
He will just get deleted. PT Lamb goes low, but a Fountain will come out, and Massili's tries to auto-attack it away, but can't. Now stealths up, and they have to be careful they don't get popped in an active camo here, which they do. Not quite able to find the Kestrel once more. The range game hard, but a Solar Storm connects! Not enough damage, the block keeps him alive. Oh, that was close. That was anticlimactic, unfortunately, which is kind of the story, I think, of Dynasty's composition, is that it is anticlimactic. A lot of boom for its buck that hasn't quite been found.
One thing that I think Rhyme will actually do, though, if we look at Rhyme in a more objective sense, is he's likely not going to be the primary target for Qlash. That, you know, in the back of their minds, Qlash are always like, we need to deal with Celeste before we need to deal with anything else. What Rickameza can do is he can just walk into a team fight and just try and root somebody to get them chained into a core collapse, then obviously try and land some supernova damage onto them. So there is that potential to combo with the Celestia. He's also pretty good at peeling, so if you find yourself in a situation where you need to peel Celeste off from the Catherine, then that's a pretty solid situation for her as well.
Hell's Devil potentially caught out, but is able to position himself safely. Mowgli doesn't have the war treads yet, so makes things a little bit difficult to get his team into position. And he may not even go war treads, perhaps journey boots if he needs to reposition and keep a PT Lamb alive against Agony and Massili's and just provide great body blocking. Another well-timed Crucible blocks up that forward barrage. Here comes a second silence. No Crucible used by Mowgli, and oh gosh, they're burning alive. Valkyrie does come down, but it doesn't connect. Mowgli going very low here is very much dead. And now they're looking to try and take down the rest of Dynasty. Solar Storm taken on by the Stormguard bubble, but the Catherine will fall. PT Lamb gets spitfired to death, and Rickameza doing his best, mistiming his abilities, doesn't root Agony, and Ace will come through. At the 16-minute mark, Qlash should finish the Kraken.
Yeah, and you saw how easily they kited the Rhyme about. Brilliant flank from Agony to get onto PT Lamb in the back line as well with that singular Spitfire. Again, it just doesn't feel like Rhyme's doing anything in these fights. I just
see this replay here, Scoundrel. Just the first silence comes through from Hell's Devil, and the second one immediately with no Crucible able to be used, and instantly Mowgli is burnt away, meaning the Fountain's used to save his life, and ultimately it doesn't in the end. So. Yeah. as soon as that fountain is used to save a Finn, then your Celeste is vulnerable, and it was just easy pickings for Agony and Mercilles, who played their range game perfectly.
And because of the silence, if you saw, I also got a chance to look at the replay. If you had a silence, it actually stopped Rhyme running into the back line to actually put pressure onto the Scarf and the Kestrel, and you saw that he was just there trying to peel back for the Celeste, but really doing, a pretty mediocre job of it. Rhyme really only has one ability to help peel as Kraken start to push down onto this base. So this actually takes a bit of damage here. The fourth Qlash away for the moment.
Yeah, it's so difficult to siege against Celeste, and right now Qlash is struggling, however. Looking to push forward, a great Valkyrie stuns up too, but where is the engage? Solar Storm doesn't find enough damage, and Agony, he's burning them alive. Does get stunned up. Mowgli will fall. Hell's Devil should go down, and Agony almost as well, but they're standing inside a goop and they can't do any damage, and the Kraken has taken the choke point. One turret will go down, two if you count the one before the Kraken was taken. So a net gold lead for Qlash in that scenario, and they can take the Crystal Sentry as well just to add to their pockets.
Crystal Sentry eliminated.
Absolutely, PT Lam. Total item build finished, as is Mercilles, who's finished at the E2. Lam's actually going to pick up... Oh, he's going 5 damage items on this Celeste. Don't often see this. It's a risk build. Does rely on Rikimeza and, I think, Mowgli body blocking, because this is one of the major ways that you can play around the majority of the damage from Agony and Mercilles. A lot of it can come down to body blocking, and, Finn, one of the best in the business at body blocking. And Rikimeza, with his moderately tanky build, might be able to do something similar, as well as generating that fortified health. So I think what PT Lam is doing here is relying a lot on the body blocking potential of Rikimeza and Mowgli, because even a couple of sly basic attacks or just one Spitfire lands onto him, he's pretty much toast.
One disadvantage of going Shadowglass on Celeste is that your Heliogenesis don't slow, which means it's far more difficult to land a Supernova burst onto someone. And so building a Frostbone as your 5th item will mean that now, if a Supernova does connect with someone, they are going to just lose their lives very, very quickly. It's Feast or Famine once more coming out for Dynasty. They have to get that Frostburn online, and it will take a little bit of time to purchase up. He needs another 800 gold, 700 gold at this point, which is a little bit difficult to find at this 19-minute mark. About 3 waves, I believe. So Dynasty have to play a little bit safe until that Frostburn is completed.
Will indeed, as Rikimeza. Here comes the War Tread. Rikimeza slowed down though, so it was an attempted engage from Mowgli that was very quickly disengaged by Qlash as Hell's Devil runs back in, 1-shot, 1-kill.
Does come through into Mowgli. I feel Dynasty should be disengaging here, but instead they move forward. Another silence will come out from Hell's Devil. Mercilles doing so much damage to Mowgli. There's the second. Here's a huge amount of damage. They pulled Hell's Devil away from their carries, and they've taken down Mercilles in the process. Hell's Devil will fall as well. Fantastic play from Dynasty to open up the front line and get to that back line.
Now they're looking to put pressure here as Scarf is going to get bound out. Rikimeza does tank up a Spitfire, but probably will survive in a healthy way as the Kraken is going to get started up. This might be an opportunity for Agony to try and search out a Miracle Steal or a snipe onto a singular member. Lam, though, likely going to be able to zone him away, Dalsy.
It's so difficult on Scarf. You can only rely on a Spitfire, and it's easily body blocked, although Dynasty move away just as the Spitfire connects, and the Kraken almost was stolen, which is sloppy from Dynasty, to say the least. We do have a... What has PT Lam done? He's gone for Halcyon Charges before a Frostburn, so he's not even looking for that tier 3 5th CP item. He wanted the Halcyon Charges and Infusion instead. The Kraken has been started up by Qlash here.
I think essentially what's been happening in these fights is that Dynasty Gaming bait Hell's Devil into the first silence, and then they start to run away, and they just say, okay, we've got to run away now, try and bring them in sort of a longer period into the second silence, and then we try and re-engage after that's done. If they get locked into an all-out brawl with 2 silences, they're just going to straight up lose. But, I mean, PT Lam's starting to do some serious work at this point in time. The Halcyon Charge is going to reduce the cooldown of the Heliogenesis even more. You're actually starting to see him chunk through Mercilles and Agony, even with those Aegises. Starting to do some serious work.
Yeah, he's Needs another 600 gold and he has a Frostburn, and that is ridiculous amount of damage available for PT Lamb. They've been able to stall this game fantastically at Scoundrel. In the late game, the Celeste is pretty much the single driving force, although it does get tagged up by a one-shot there. Will reveal position. Perhaps Qlash can use that and the fact that he's low health to do something. Rickomeza in trouble as he gets engaged upon Dragon's Breath. Going to come out, start stacking up. Valkyrie immediately stops the Dragon's Breath. Well placed by Rickomeza, but the silence is there, which means no fountain available. Mowgli needs to pop it soon. Rickomeza's going very low. Here comes the Solar Storm, ripping through Hell's Devil, but Mowgli is dead. Hell's Devil pops the fountain. He'll survive for some time, and it's only PT Lamb left alive. Masili's able to chip away at him. PT Lamb shall fall in just a second as Hell's Devil makes sure it happens now, and that is game going the way of Qlash. They open up. One shot was all they needed at Scoundrel to take game 2.
They certainly took that opportunity, Dalsy. And they're going to take this game 2 of the series. Again, I don't like to beat a dead horse, but Rhyme's a big old dead horse, and probably needs a bit of beating, because it's just not a good first pick. To be honest, in any situation, from my standpoint, Rhyme's just never a good first pick. And I think Qlash played around it and drafted around it much better this time round. And you saw how little work Rickomeza got done, Darcy.
Yeah, certainly almost a null factor towards the end of this game. We will be heading to a third in this series. Let's